Since a lot of people on here are practicing nofap and are dealing with issues of addiction to pornography, I want to discuss a little bit about the psychology of addiction and the spiritual background of how addiction manifests. Most often when people have an addiction, it's because they are running away or facing or avoiding facing some type of trauma or something within that is too much to deal with or be present with. So addictions serve as distractions, as changing your energetic state. It gives a false sense of comfort so that you have a substitute for the actual comfort that you're seeking by healing whatever it is that you're running away from. A lot of the times it's very much under the radar in the sense that people don't actually know or acknowledge that they are addicted to something. You might think, for example, that when you eat a meal that you're just eating out of hunger, when really you could be addicted to certain additives and things in the food that make you crave certain things that aren't actually healthy for you. Similarly, a lot of people are addicted to smoking cannabis and might have a really hard time identifying that because the nature of cannabis is to make the person feel this elevated sort of spiritual state. So it would be hard to identify or see that as a bad habit. But anything that takes us away from our center and from our natural state of being ultimately is not helpful. Whenever you depend on something from the outside, then you're constantly a prisoner or a slave to that outside thing to give you comfort and give you peace, and it's always fleeting. So there's no substitute to doing the inner work and facing whatever traumas or wounds are causing you to do that behavior in the first place. And a lot of the time, it doesn't even necessarily have to be something that's a huge, major trauma. A lot of people, for example, they might come from good families and might still be addicted to alcohol or cannabis, and they might think that it's simply the substance itself that's addictive. The physical is not the whole reality, so there's usually an energy behind what drives the addiction. Even within pleasant upbringings or things, there could be subtle forms of abuse or things that happen that create an unhealthy state of mind or unhealthy state of being that your conscious mind might not be aware of, but that your psyche is aware of and is seeking to escape through these types of addictions. A lot of spiritual people are actually more prone to addictions because of the nature of being on the spiritual path and because of the natural gifts inherent with being a spiritual person. A lot of the energy of being in the higher chakras and in the upper realms can leave someone feeling really scattered or very much feeling a void and not knowing how to ground back down to earth. And addictions actually serve as a grounding mechanism because anything that is done repetitively or routinely creates a sense of familiarity and safety. This is why when people give up cigarettes, for example, they give nicotine gum or substitutes that allow the habitual activity to continue taking place because it's more about the neural wiring and the habits than it is the actual substance. Of course, there's always a physical component, but that's just the surface level. It's always a much deeper energetic state. It's basically trapped energy that is not capable of leaving the body. So when a person indulges in an addiction, they're basically avoiding the processing and release of the trapped energy, the trapped emotion. There's lots of stories of people who sit in plant medicine ceremonies or who develop a yogic practice that forces these old energies and traumas to come up. And once these things are faced, there's no longer an impulse to continue any sort of addictive behavior because there's no longer anything to run away from or to distract yourself from. You'll never actually know these deep subconscious, unconscious wounds and traumas unless you take a break from the distracting behaviors and sit and face yourself. And the easiest way to start is by sitting in meditation and facing yourself. Not meditation with cannabis or with any other substances, but literally just you and your own energy. We live in a universe where everything is seeking to expand. So these substances that people consume or the pornography that people watch, it's all competing energies. So there's a vested interest in this energy still taking your energy, or this energy exchange happening where something may be feeding off of your energy or taking residence in your body. And you want to be a champion for yourself where you don't just allow any foreign substances to have resonance in your body, or to allow the pornography industry to take your energy and convert that energy into currency. You can use that energy for yourself for so much better purposes, for empowering yourself. In our universe, everything is seeking to expand. That includes plants, animals. That's why plants reproduce, animals reproduce. That's why we have commercials on television. Everything is seeking to gain your energy and to use it to expand, to reproduce, to grow bigger. If you feel like you're not growing in some area in your life, most likely just because you're giving your energy to something outside of yourself instead of feeding yourself with that energy and continuing to grow and expand yourself. Everything is an energy exchange, and although the nature of the universe, the fabric of the universe is love, in this dual reality, not everything is actually seeking your benefit just because it feels good. There are a lot of predatory things in nature and in life that will evoke a pleasant scent to bring you in and to feed itself. And it's because everything is seeking to compete for its own expansion. If you're not using all your energy towards yourself, then you're essentially giving it away to other people. There's a really great yoga kriya that helps with quitting addictions, and I'm going to put a link for that below, and you can download it on my website. And if you do this for 21 days, it'll help rewire your neural patterning, help break those habitual neural pathways that create those comforts and those habits that seem impossible to break out of. So once you make a decision and you just start interrupting those habits, and you could even start by replacing the habits with healthier habits, because the brain will have an easier time with that. But it's all about pattern disruption, neural biohacking, just changing those treaded pathways and allowing for something new to come in for your brain to adapt to. And not everything is meant to be pleasant. Discipline is not pleasant, but it has its rewards, just like going to the gym and eating healthy. It doesn't necessarily have to feel good. So don't confuse a good feeling with what's right for you, because things can feel good and ultimately be very detrimental to you. So if you want to evaluate if something is good for you or if it's an addiction, look at how it affects your life. Be, as Yogananda says, be an impersonal analyzer of your reality. Just take stock of how something is actually affecting you. Be objective and see whether your habits are actually helping you or not. And once you decide if something's not serving you, be resolute, make the decision to break the habit, and watch how your life will transform for the better.